We start this hour in the United States, where hardline Republicans in the House of Representatives have repeatedly blocked fellow Republican Kevin McCarthy's bid to become the chamber's powerful speaker, leaving the chamber leaderless and plunging into their majority into turmoil. In the first day of what could prove to be a brutal showdown between the 20 hardliners and the other 202 members of the Republican caucus, Mr. McCarthy failed in 3 ballots to achieve the 218 votes needed to become Speaker, a role second in line to the Oval Office after the Vice President. Speaking after the votes, McCarthy said he will always fight for America.
And they even came to the position where one, Matt Gaetz, said, I don't care if we go to plurality and we elect Hakeem Jeffries and it hurts the new frontline members not to get reelected. Well, that's not about America. And I will always fight to put the American people first, not a few individuals that want something for themselves. So we may have a battle on the floor, but the battle is for the conference and the country, and that's fine with me.
All right, now for more on the story, let's cross live to Washington, D.C., where we're joined by Arise U.S. correspondent Eric Ham. Eric, how are you today? Now, can you talk us through yesterday's events? So much drama.
Oh, I think that's the understatement, and it's only January so far. What we saw yesterday was, for the first time in 100 years, an actual floor fight took place on the House of Representatives to naming a Speaker of the House. Now, this is important because the Speaker is integral to the legislative operations of the House of Representatives. The Speaker of the House determines who are the committee chairs for the various committees, including the Appropriations Committee, which actually appropriates money that will fund the federal government. The Speaker of the House also determines the legislative agenda, what bills will come before the floor, what bills will actually be decided upon to be addressed in the chamber. And also, we know that the Speaker of the House is also the third in line of succession to the President of the United States, behind the Vice President. So this is a very, very important role. It's seen as a very powerful position, not only in Congress, but in all of Washington. And so for the first time in 100 years, there is no one at the helm leading the House of Representatives. And so what that means is no business is being conducted. Hundreds of new members of Congress are not being sworn in. And also what we're seeing is it is total chaos right now, because as we know, if in fact this goes beyond 2 weeks, by January 15th, and there's certainly a hope that that does not happen, but we also know that if this does not get done by January 15th, even staff members, which are in the thousands in Congress, will no longer receive paychecks, because essentially the House of Representatives is no longer operational.
And what can we be expecting today?
Yeah, today, what we're expecting is Congress, the House of Representatives will reconvene at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another series of votes. Now, it's unclear at this time if Kevin McCarthy actually has the votes. In fact, after yesterday's 3 rounds of voting, Kevin McCarthy came out, spoke to us in the well of the House chamber, where he floated the idea that the threshold could perhaps be lowered for him to actually get to the vaulted number of 218. And what he talked about was just getting more votes than what the Democratic minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, got. So rather than recognizing that he needed to get to 218 votes, he kept saying if he got more than Hakeem Jeffries, if he got to 213, that there was a possibility that some members in the chamber could actually vote present or not be in attendance, which would actually lower the number that he would need. Very similar to what happened in 2015 when John Boehner was the Speaker of the House, and that threshold was lowered in the chamber because many Democrats actually left to go to a funeral. It's unlikely that we will see that play out. In fact, what we are told from our sources is that all 212 members of the Democratic caucus are expected to be in attendance, and it's unlikely that any of these Republicans are expected to not be in attendance or vote present and not for McCarthy or someone else. So at this point, it appears as though there's still at least 20 Republicans. Today, we're told it could possibly be more that are still unwilling to get behind Kevin McCarthy's candidacy for Speaker of the House. And many moderates are visibly upset about what's happening. But right now, there seems to be a lack of power or instrumentation for those who support Kevin McCarthy to actually support or somehow break up these 20 who are detracting from allowing the speaker to take hold and for the chamber to actually begin to do its business.
It certainly looks like the odds are stacked up against him. But if McCarthy is able to get that support, would his time as speaker just be marred by rebels from his own party?
That's a very good observation. And the answer to that question is emphatically yes. In fact, we are told over and over that even if McCarthy gets over this challenge, and right now it's unclear if he will, but if he does, he will go down as the weakest speaker in history. And one of the reasons for that is because of the many concessions that he's already made to many of these detractors. The most glaring, of course, being the fact that he has lowered the threshold for actually removing a speaker from 50 or half of the caucus to only 5 members who could call for a no confidence vote. So even if he becomes speaker, his tenure as Speaker of the House will be very tenuous and fragile for him to actually hold on to that spot. And basically what we're seeing by Republicans who are calling for this is they simply, it appears that they do not want anyone to actually govern. But nevertheless, Kevin McCarthy seems to be very hopeful that he can get this done today. It doesn't appear that Democrats are going to throw him a lifeline. We've heard them say that. And nevertheless, with all of this, it's still unclear if, in fact, the rules package, because remember, just because you elect a speaker, you still have to adopt rules that will actually govern the chamber over the next 2 years. And it's unclear if those rules will even be adopted. So it looks like it's going to be another day of chaos. It looks like it's going to be another day of uncertainty. And it looks like it's going to be another day where even if Kevin McCarthy gets over this, it's still unclear what the future will hold for him.
Now, it seems the Democrats appear to be unified. With the Republicans in trouble by being so divided, are they in trouble by being so divided? What's it for the Republicans?
Well, right now, what we are told, and yesterday was also a very momentous day for the Senate as well. And of course, many people have not seen that. But yesterday you had, for the first time in history, you had a woman, a female, an African-American woman who actually presided over many of those who were installed as U.S. senators for the first time. And so what we are also learning in the upper chamber, Senate Republicans are deeply concerned about Kevin McCarthy, if in fact he does become speaker. They believe that his tenure will be so weak and so embattled that it will make it difficult to get anything done. Now, Democrats have extended their majority in the Senate, which means they will be able to move judges far more efficiently, much more quicker. And also today, we know there is a show of bipartisanship taking place as President Biden will be traveling to Kentucky, where he will spend the day with Republican Senator Mitch McConnell, the Senate Minority Leader. So we are seeing shows of bipartisanship. We are seeing at least one chamber operate efficiently. But right now, what we're seeing is Kevin McCarthy still doesn't seem to have the heft, the power, or the ability to actually unify and bring his caucus together. And many are watching to see how this will all play out. And of course, looking back to what took place in 1923, where that floor fight took 3 days and 9 ballot tries, the question is, can Kevin McCarthy get there before that? The answer to that is, we just don't know.
Right. Well, we're definitely part of the people who are keeping an eye on this situation. We look forward for further updates from you. That's Arise US correspondent Eric Ham. Thank you so much for your time. you.